Only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's online class. My name is Vanessa Lardo and I'm today's coordinator. Today's class is Change One Thing, Change Your Life. Today's health educator is it's Drew Correa. Drew graduated from Loma Linda University and currently works for Beaver Medical Group as a registered dietitian. Her special interests are food sensitivities and disease prevention through nutrition. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you, Vanessa. Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to talk about behavior change. Changing behavior can be very difficult. Trying to do things differently and giving up a certain behavior is not always something we really want to do. For example, to stop eating sugar when we really like sweet treats might seem a little too drastic. So what about saying to ourselves, let's try eating less sugar and see what happens? When we try to make up extreme changes, it's going to be very unrealistic. And when we fall short, we're going to call it a failure and give up. But what if you were to try to make very, 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 very small changes? You might actually be able to stick to them, start noticing a difference in how you feel, and then maybe realize that you have changed your behavior, which in turn changes your life. So why is change so hard? It's due to the routines and habits we already have set along with our many responsibilities. So sometimes just we're only capable of doing a few extra things on top of whatever else we already have to do. And then trying to make a change on top of that seems a little bit difficult. So we already have those routines and habits set, and they started many years ago. Once a routine or habit is set, it becomes so natural to do, we don't even think about or even notice that we're doing it. How about brushing your teeth? Do you really think about what it takes? There are many steps, and I bet you don't even see yourself doing them. You just brush your teeth. Or how about those 3 p.m. coffee breaks where you need a little something sweet? It's amazing how we don't even need to set an alarm for that break. Our body just knows that it's time. So if we all have all these routines and habits set up, and now you want to add some responsibilities to a typical day that might look like getting up, getting ready for work, getting yourself and your family fed, transporting them, and maybe handling an appointment or two, deciding what's for dinner, getting it prepped and served, cleaned up, and etc. Everything just becomes overwhelming. Now you've decided it's a new year and you really want to get healthy. So on top of everything else, you now need to figure out how to squeeze in exercise, cooking different, how to purchase healthier choices. Again, talk about overwhelming. It's important to take on the challenge of changing, but how about a step at a time? It also is important to try and weed down what it is you really want. So it's really important first to think about the big picture. So if you could change one thing, what would it be? And at this stage, it's really important to think big. Think about what it is you really overall want. You might be thinking there's a lot of choices, but we all have an idea of just one major change that we would make that we would love to make. So maybe you think it's your health, maybe it's your job that you want to change. It could be anything, but it's important to take a moment and think about what it is you really want to change. So now you know what it is you want to change. So maybe you want to become more healthy. You need to write it down, start posting it in different places, start to think about that as your prize in life. And it's important that you just always be able to keep your eye on the prize. That's why it's also important to maybe make sticky notes, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it in your car, put it on your desk, and kind of own what it is you really want in life. Now it's important to think about how we're going to attack it. So maybe you can kind of think about brainstorming. Let's say you chose that you want to lose weight. So what is it going to take? We got to learn to eat healthy, maybe exercise. And we got to figure out when we're going to exercise. We got to figure out what kind of exercise we want to do. And we also got to figure out what it is we need. Do I need a pair of walking shoes, or do I need maybe some comfortable clothes? So kind of creating this diagram with your main goal in the center and lots of little circles outside, and kind of explore all the things that would be needed to make that change. And what you're actually doing is you're developing a plan. You're starting to figure out all the tools that you're going to need in order to get that main goal. Maybe it is, again, losing weight. So for example, you chose to lose weight. What would it take? We kind of talked about it, exercise, choosing healthy foods, making time for yourself, cooking more at home, maybe bringing your lunch to work, etc., etc., etc. So where do you start? If we know that it's going to take multiple actions to lose weight, how do you figure out where you're going to start that whole process? So kind of picking things, making things into small doable parts, maybe pick something from the furthest point. So as you kind of look through that exercise diagram, we needed to start thinking about what I need. So that would be the first step before we actually start to exercise. Do I need new clothes? Do I need shoes? So as you brainstorm, really expand it out to the smallest thought that you can come up with as to where to start. And then we're going to just focus on that one change. So, okay, we're going to go find those shoes. It might take you a few weeks to go find the comfortable shoes. Or where do I go get those? You might have to start exploring from friends and family, where can I get some comfortable walking shoes? So that's the only thing you're going to focus on. And you're going to notice that maybe you feel like you have made some decisions, right, by buying those shoes. Okay, I've bought the shoes, now I know I can move forward from there. So notice how that feels to actually empower yourself to do one of those little changes. How do you now feel? Do you feel motivated? What would happen if you now continue? You put the shoes on and you start walking. So eventually this change will start to feel like a part of your life. These shoes, I own them. I've put them on my feet, I decided how comfortable they are, and it feels good that I've actually started this process of making a change. So again, even though you've really only bought the shoes, you're one step closer to realizing your goal of losing weight. So what holds you back? There's a lot of things that can hold people back into making their changes. One of them is, how am I going to find the time? If you see the woman over here, she's got multiple things to do all day long. She's cooking, she's working, she's, got to take care of people. So in her mind, she might be thinking, well, how am I going to find this time? So there's little things that maybe we can start to figure out to find some time. So if that's an issue, that's something we want to note. Or maybe it's perfectionism. You're trying to be too perfect, right? You think it's all or nothing. It's also important to think about you don't have to change by tomorrow. You have a whole lifetime ahead, so what's the hurry? Also, leave some room for some flexibility. Something is bound to come up. Life happens. Let life happen. You're not failing because you deviated for a while. Just start back up at any time. So for example, here's some suggestions maybe to free up some time. Maybe in the morning have 1 cup of coffee instead of 2. Depending on how long you take to drink your coffee, you could save up, about 10 to 15 minutes. It's amazing how another 10 minutes in your morning can make a huge difference on whether or not you might bring a lunch, or maybe you might leave for work on time, which will make you feel a little bit more organized, and then that just changes how your whole day works out. Or maybe it's exercise and you don't know where to start with the exercise. You might just try doing something, 1 plank or 1 push-up or 1 jumping jack. Believe it or not, people think that they have to devote a whole 30 minutes or an hour of time to exercise, but you actually gain strength over time. So as long as you do one thing and you build, you're going to start to increase your heart and lung capacity as well as your endurance and muscle strength. So do only one of anything and it will start to add up. And it's amazing, if I was to do 1 jumping jack, well, I'm already dressed, got the shoes on, might as well do 2, maybe it'll lead to 3, and it'll just start to build from there. Or maybe it's housework, you're trying to figure out getting that housework done. Maybe you might start thinking about doing just one thing, right? You might wipe down 1 counter every evening. So your counters are always clean then. Or you might dust 1 area and you just kind of keep moving forward. So you are doing a little something each day, but now you're breaking it down into little increments of maybe 5 minutes instead of trying to figure out how to devote, again, another 30 minutes to an hour to do something. Or maybe it's bringing lunch to work. Maybe you might start taking some time while you're already prepping dinner. Make a little extra, put it in a container, throw it in the fridge, and all you have to do is grab it the next morning. Or maybe you want to try and increase your vegetable intake. If you're going to get the cutting board out, cut a whole bunch up, store it, and then you've got a little bit more of a grab and go environment for either cooking vegetables the next night or having vegetables as a snack. So again, these are kind of some examples we were talking about. So time, now that I have 10 minutes free in the morning, I could make my lunch. I could get to work on time. I might feel a little more organized. My day seems to go better. I'm happier, as well as all the people around me, and it looks like I'm going to have a great day. Or we've got that exercise. So believe it or not, 1 plank every day will increase your bone strength. It's going to tone your overall body. You're going to get arm definition, abdominal definition. Thighs are going to get a workout. It's going to burn calories. You're going to decrease your stress. It's actually a form of meditation to exercise when you focus on walking or doing a plank or doing a push-up. As long as you've got to focus on that one thing, you're actually meditating. So from there, you're going to feel very strong and powerful. And again, if you do just one thing each day, you're going to feel strong and powerful every day. Housework, so we talked about, wiping down 1 counter every night. So my counters are always clean. Then I'm going to feel like my kitchen is clean. I might feel a little more calm without the dirt and the clutter. I feel like maybe I can do a little bit more. And again, that's a very powerful feeling. So feeling that and noticing that will encourage you to keep moving forward to accomplish your overall goal. Or again, bringing lunch to work. So now we're going to take time to pack up those leftovers at night. So you're going to eat less fast food. You're going to feel less sluggish. You're going to feel less bloated. Probably going to have more energy for the afternoon. You're going to accomplish more work. Start losing weight. That's your overall goal. And feeling powerful. It's the little things that add up that help us accomplish our goal. Increasing the vegetables, so we're going to take some time to clean those veggies in bulk. We're going to clean and cut the veggies. We're going to grab them for dinner and snacks and lunch. By doing this, you're going to increase your fiber intake, which means the more fiber you get into the diet, you're going to feel full throughout the day. Probably you're going to snack less. Therefore, you're going to start to lose weight. And again, that feels very powerful to just feel that, right? It's like, okay, all I was doing was asking myself to clean and cut veggies, and now I'm ending up losing weight. It's little steps. You got to remember, it's little tiny steps that encourage us in our behavior change. So you may be asking yourself, well, I've heard all this before, and I seem to not be able to keep the motivation high. I seem to always stop and start. But I think that's a lot from asking yourself to take on too much. You have to remember everything in your life. You've got to think about the time you wake up in the morning, the time you go to bed, what's expected of you in between. So you've got all these responsibilities that you need to accomplish. You also want to change some things, but you already have some behaviors that are very automatic. So to kind of redirect your life, it's going to take some practice. So if you start with really small, doable parts, you're not asking yourself to take on too much. You are going to feel some success. And when you feel those small successes, they will add up. And you have to ask yourself too, is this something that I can work on and keep up for the rest of my life? If we think about our overall goals, what we want to accomplish, I want to lose weight. Whatever I do that helps me lose weight, I need to keep doing that forever. We want to live forever, so we can't just stop doing what it took. And if you're trying to do something that you don't like, you won't keep it up. So you really have to ask yourself, does this fit, this activity or change that I'm trying to accomplish? Does it fit within my life? Does it work with my family? Does it feel really good in my gut to keep doing it? If it doesn't, you can try and tweak it, right, and personalize it. If you can personalize these changes and keep them for yourself, you're more apt to keep going forward. If it doesn't work, it's okay to kind of ditch it. I think we get ideas from people, we learn, go to nutrition classes or whatever, and we start to think that I have to do it this way. But then maybe it just isn't working for you. So you have to tweak it, that it's personalized for you. And over time, you'll just get better and better at figuring out what you need and what works. And you have to remember that, you know, we said earlier, life happens. It's okay to take a break. But it's important to move on from the event or crisis. So unfortunately, we're going to have loved ones that get sick. We're going to get sick ourselves. We're going to injure ourselves, maybe when we take on exercise. Things may just not go according to plan, but that doesn't mean if you stop that you are failing. So stopping something for a few days, even longer, again, it doesn't mean you failed. You just kind of pick yourself up and move forward from that. There's no way we can, you know, stop motion. We just have to kind of keep moving with it. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is we're unaware of how the change is affecting our overall life. And I really think that we need to pay attention. So many people come into my office and they have already met with me once, and then they decide that they're going to take on some type of change, and they'll come in and say, wow, this feels so great. I really am enjoying my extra energy that I have. And but then something gets in the way, an event or a crisis, and then they stop doing it, and they kind of forget how great it felt. If you can remember how good it feels, you might be more apt to keep going. So it's important to really pay attention. It's like you want to get hooked or addicted to the change, right? We don't want to get hooked or addicted to anything that's not good for us, but if it feels really good to get out and take a 5-minute walk, then we want to do everything we can to keep that 5-minute walk in our day, and we want to get it in every day. Or if you feel stronger and you have more energy, do you really want to give all of that up? So what did it take to get to that feeling stronger and having more energy? So it's very important to pay attention, maybe write down some of the things that you have gained from your small changes, and remember that you're trying to keep your eye on the prize. So you're going to do whatever it is to get your prize. Sometimes people say, well, I keep working towards my prize and it seems like it keeps moving further away. Part of that is because you want more. You're finally feeling it. You love it. And so you've started to tack on a little bit more to your prize. So, but that's a good thing. We're a work in progress, right? So we want to keep moving forward. We want to live a nice long life that feels very good. So it's important to think, you know, you're not going to just grab your prize and then stop. It's always going to be kind of a process, a work in motion. And it's once you pick up a new habit, the other ones kind of fall off. So we have things in our life that we don't like, and we're kind of sick of doing them. Once you finally find something else to do and you kind of focus your attention on that new thing, the things you don't like will start to disappear. So just keep picking up something and trying it and tweaking it, and lo and behold, pretty soon all those things that you don't like will be gone. So remember, when you are genuinely interested in one thing, it will always lead to something else. You're going to just gain new insight into how you feel, and you're just going to want to keep going and moving forward. And we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence then is not an act, but it's a habit. I think it's just really important to you got to kind of keep that eye on the prize. You've got to write it down. You've got to post it somewhere. You've got to figure out what it's going to take to get there. And you got to start small and you got to build. So hopefully this has helped you come up with some ideas. If you find that you need any more help in this, you can reach me at my email, dkorea@epic.com. And I hope you all have a nice evening. It was a little short and sweet seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew, and thank you everybody for joining us today. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm excited to actually incorporate some planks myself tomorrow morning, so thank you for that great tip. If you guys would like a handout of today's presentation, you can look for that in the task pane. And if you would like to see what future classes we have coming up, you can also find those in the flyers in the task pane. Again, thank you, Drew, for that wonderful presentation, and please join us for our future ones. Have a wonderful evening.